The following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates and does not necessarily reflect the views of this station or Forever Media Incorporated. Rick Jensen on 1150 AM, 1017 FM, WDEL.
You know, I've been a client of Dan White, financial planner specializing in retirement income for many, many years now. He's a decent individual, a great guy, actually, and I trust him implicitly. And on Wednesdays, after news at 1:30, he calls in with some great advice. Well, he's decided he's going to go to the shore, and we now welcome Andrew Wood, who's been an associate for many, many years, both the Middletown office and the one that's just over the line of 202. Hey, how you doing there, Andrew?
Doing great, Rick. Great to be here.
Good, glad. You know, it's actually, I'm just trying to think about you. I know you want to talk about the Roth IRAs, and it reminded me that I was talking to someone just, I guess a couple of months ago, who is a retired school teacher, and he's pretty young, like 58 or something like that, 55, you know, for being retired. And he's got a bunch of money in this teacher retirement account. I think it's called a 403B, which means it's kind of like it's kind of like an IRA or a 401k, but has different tax preferences for people who are government employees, like teachers and stuff. And he said he's looking at rising interest rates. So he decided to take a pretty big tax hit and converted that to a Roth IRA. I asked, well, man, he said, oh, yeah, I had to take the tax hit now. I asked, why are you doing that? He said, well, he studied this and talked to a couple of advisors and found that, you know, he believes if he does that, since he and his wife will likely be in a higher tax bracket when they retire than they thought that they would be, taxes are going up, interest rates are going up, and he said he studied this for like 6 months, and it made sense for him to convert from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. I'm thinking, that's a pretty bold move. But I'm thinking about what you're going to talk about Roth IRAs, and I wanted to ask you, in addition to that, are we seeing more people do that kind of thing, Andrew?
Sure. So it's really important to ask yourself when you're considering a Roth IRA or maybe a conversion, as you just mentioned. But you need to ask yourself, would you rather pay the taxes today and not have to worry about taxes in the future, or would you rather, you know, just push back, you know, taxes off, whether it's 5, 10 years from now, or even throughout the duration of your retirement? So do you want to pay your taxes up front today or in the future? Obviously, the concern is what you just mentioned. You know, not to get into politics, but, you know, we've got a $30 trillion debt issue that we're going to have to deal with, and the concern is that taxes are going to have to go up to address that issue.
You know what? I'm going to interrupt. That's not political. That is historical.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fact, right?
Yes,
so, you know, something that we're all probably going to have to deal with in the future.
Yeah.
So really, benefits of the Roth, though, you know, you pay your taxes up front, or on a conversion, you pay taxes on the conversion, but you will get all your earnings, interest, everything will be tax-free to you in the future. The thing you need to be aware of, there is a 5-year rule. So in order to get access to those, you know, the growth and the earnings tax-free, you need to have the Roth established for 5 years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and obviously that's a concern, right? So 5 years is obviously a long time. You know, just a few things to keep into consideration. Time really does fly. You know, I was thinking about this, you know, as I was preparing for today, and, you know, my daughter's, I feel like she was born yesterday. She's nearly 2. You know, just think about how quickly the last, you know, 5 years has really taken place. So, you know, that's always one thing. The other thing is this. So, you know, really think about if you're going to take advantage of tax-free growth, potential for tax-free growth, you're probably going to want to let it sit there for a while to actually get that growth. So, you know, I always look at it as a you know, medium to long-term type of strategy if you're looking to take advantage of that. And then here's the other thing. So it is actually rarely a full 5-year period. And here's the reason for that. So I'll go through a couple of examples.
Yeah, that makes sense because, you know, your idea of long-term is going to be different from the 58-year-old guy's long-term, you know?
Sure. So here's the thing, though. Now, I'll go through an example. The 5-year rule, or window, I should say, starts on January 1st of that year, regardless of when the conversion or the contribution takes place. So here's the example. Let's say you did a conversion from your pre-tax to a Roth on January 1 of 2021. In that situation, yes, you absolutely do have the full 5 years. The tax-free growth is going to be available to you in the full 5 years. However, let's just say you decided to wait until later on in the year and you did it in, let's say, December of this year. Well, if you do that, the conversion counts for 2021, but your tax-free earnings and growth will actually still be available to you January 1st of 2026. So in that scenario, you're only talking about 4 years and 1 month.
See,
does that make sense to you?
It does, but it's so far in the weeds for me. I'm thinking, you know what? Because people are calculating, okay, I'll take my Social Security when I'm 70. Okay, maybe you got a pension, you can start taking it now. And
sure.
When do I really need that Roth IRA money? Well, you know what? I like to go on vacation, like to do this, go to the beach once in a while, things like that. Like to take some money out. So people have to look at their own individual situation, figure out what they want to do. And like, oh yeah, I'll get my grandkid's going to be in school. I want to help him out. Things like that, all that stuff. So there are a lot of little bits and pieces to figure out. Even though you're looking at these dates as to when people can take the money out and not get a tax hit and everything, I think there's a lot more that plays into how people are going to use this money.
You're spot on, and really, other things to take into consideration. I mean, for most scenarios, if you are considering a conversion, when you basically take pre-tax money and pay the taxes on it, it usually does make sense for the reason I mentioned before, but also, you want to do it typically towards the end of the year, so you have a better understanding of, your overall income, what it's going to be for that tax year, so you can determine, what's going to make the best sense for you in terms of how much you do want to convert. So a lot of things need to be taken into consideration, both your tax, situation now, what it's going to be in the future, and again, what's going to happen with tax rates in the future as well. So again, do you want to pay the taxes now, or do you want to just pay taxes basically forever in the future?
And part of this is an intellectual guess, if you will, as to how much you think taxes are going to go up in the future. You're right about the $30 trillion, and obviously taxes have to go up. Look, we talked about that last year. The prices of goods and services are going to have to go up to pay for printing all this money. It's simply a reality, and you can yell and scream about the politics of the politicians. I blame them all. Because, like I said,
but if that's the case, though, I always look at it as a planning opportunity, right?
Sure.
It's going to put more stress on building tax-efficient income, and the Roth IRA and Roth conversions are certainly a way to potentially do that.
Good stuff. Andrew Wood, Dan White and Associates. They're in Middletown. Also, Glen Mills, which is right across the border there on Route 202. Sunday morning. It's on the money. It's 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. So, Andrew, best to you and your family. Thanks so much for joining the conversation.
You got it. Thanks, Rick.
Everybody, take care. Dan White and Associates. You can Google them. Like I said, Middletown as well as Glen Mills.